I know some of you are joining us now. We're waiting for everyone's phone or cameras to connect. Hi, Jocelyn. Thanks for saying hi. And actually, as you're joining this, please introduce yourselves in the chat room. Let us know your name, what college you're attending, and your major, please. So use those chat boxes. Hi, Christian. Tell us, please, your partner college, and your major. And welcome, everyone. This is Tanya Wilcox. I'm the Director for Scholar Programs and College Programs here at TheDream.Us. You might have seen me in other webinars, or you might have gotten emails from me. It's very wonderful to have you join us today for this great session on the healthcare industry. Thanks, Austin and Paola, for joining us from University of Houston and from Rutgers. It's great to see from scholars throughout the country, and from BMCC. I see everybody. I also want to take the minute to introduce you to a brand new staff member at TheDream.Us, who is a former TheDream.Us scholar. She's one of our alumni who graduated from one of our partner colleges in Chicago, and she is the program manager for Scholar Programs. So you'll be hearing a lot from Melanie. Melanie, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself a little bit?
Hello, everyone. Greetings from Chicago. My name is Melanie Beatron. Like Tanya said, I am new program manager at TheDream.Us, also a former scholarship recipient, class of 2019. So anybody from class of 2019, shout out. Happy to be here with you all. Thank you, Avenica, for having us here. And yeah, really excited.
Thanks, Melanie. And I'd love to see in the variety of majors that are joining us today, from biology to psychology to social work to sports fitness, which is great because you can enter the healthcare industry from a variety of majors, and you'll be hearing about that today. And this is why we're bringing this webinar for you in this info session. We have two people from Avenica, which is a talent placement agency. And they have an expert in-house, Amanda Brown, who you're going to meet, who's going to know a lot. She knows a lot about this industry, and she'll give you a little information about the trends. And then you'll also get to hear from some of our scholars. So actually, let me show you the agenda first. So Amanda is going to talk about why a career in healthcare, the different ways to enter the industry, the different career paths. And then we're going to have a panel of two of our scholars who graduated from college 1, 2, 3 years ago, who are currently working in healthcare, and they're going to share their story and some of their tips and recommendations on how you can enter that industry too. And then Avenica is also one of our partners that offers career coaching for our scholars. And at the end, Paulian from Avenica is going to be able to tell you about that program and how you can apply for it and access it so that you can take advantage of this career readiness opportunities that Avenica and TheDream.Us is bringing to you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our folks here from Avenica, Paulian Rivas, who's the Director of Talent Pathways, and Amanda Brown, who's the Vice President of Healthcare Solutions. And scholars, if you can, turn on your cameras. We love to see your faces. Feel free to put in the chat questions that come up for you throughout the session, or raise your hand using your toolbar, and then we can unmute you so you can ask your question using your voice too. So with that, take it away, Paulian and Amanda.
I can go first here. So my name is Paulian Rivas. I am the Director of Talent Pathways, as Tanya said. First and foremost, thank you so much for having us here. We're so excited to be a part of this webinar today. I actually oversee the candidate experience and engagement for the program. I'm also a career coach. I actually started my career here at Avenica almost 6 years ago on the talent delivery and recruiting side of the business. Last summer, I actually had the privilege of transitioning into our Pathways program full time, where we really focus on the career readiness as well as potential placement opportunities. So really happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Pollyanna. My name is Amanda Brown. I am VP of our Healthcare Solutions here. I've actually been in the healthcare industry for the last 15 years. And so I'm looking forward to sharing more on some of my learnings of what's happening in the industry and just areas of opportunity as you explore future career paths, and then of course talking with our panel members. But I lead our healthcare solutions team, and we focus on developing relationships with our client partners, which range from health systems and hospitals to healthcare technology companies, healthcare insurance. So you'll hear more about some of those areas, but our goal ultimately is to help a talent be able to find opportunities that they may not have even known about, that are available in the healthcare industry, and be able to align that talent. And then, of course, with our Pathways program, we want to provide coaching and career pathing, and Pollyanna's going to talk more about that. But we're definitely excited to be here, and we'll share more about the healthcare industry. And I think we can just get right in. I'd encourage you to, if you have questions, we'll stop and pause throughout today's presentation. Give you a minute to type any questions you might have in the inbox, and we want to get all those answered. But yeah, we're excited to be here. All right, perfect. And I can go ahead and we'll keep it going. So our mission at Avenica, and I think Tanya said it well, and Pollyanna, but our goal is to help support really the talent diversity and different programs and our partnerships, like with TheDream.Us. We do a lot of work to support helping talent to reach their fullest potential, and we do a lot of talent placement, but we also do an education to work program that helps prepares, mentors, coaches candidates as you're going through your own scholars and your university and college experience to help prepare you for that next career. And because we spend so much time focused on helping you align and helping our talent that comes to our program align with that, next wave after they finish college or graduate, our goal is ultimately to match you with the right organization so you can go have a rewarding career in whatever path makes the most sense for you. And so our customers, our client partners, we do the same process. It's really important that we're matching both candidates and our clients with the right individuals and company. So they want to work and be a part of their companies for long term. So we're excited to have the opportunity to be able to partner with TheDream.Us, and Pollyanna will certainly share more about our Pathways program, but for today, we really want to just give you exposure into the healthcare industry and all the different exciting opportunities. And actually, if you want to turn to the next slide, that would be great. We'll go started. And one more slide, perfect. Okay, so let me tell you about the healthcare industry, and I'll tell you a little bit very briefly. I got started in the healthcare industry more than 15 years ago after spending about 10 years in a completely different industry. I had some family members in the clinical side of healthcare. I had some on the medical device, but my interest was really in how could I make a difference. And so as I finished my own school and graduated from college, I'm a first generation college graduate, worked full time while I was working on earning my degree, have a bachelor's in management and a minor in psychology. I saw one psychology major on the chat box, so as I started to pursue different areas and opportunities, I started looking for healthcare companies, knowing that it was in the top 5 largest industries. And that was over 15 years ago, and that hasn't changed. Over almost $3 million are spent in US healthcare alone. We spend 2 times as much on healthcare for better quality of healthcare than compared to other countries, but also we have a lot of chronic conditions that impact our cost of healthcare. We'll talk a little bit about that. There's almost 1 million different companies that support our US healthcare system, and that could be anywhere from pharmaceutical companies, research companies, healthcare technology companies, insurance payers, and of course, our providers who are on the front lines right now. And actually, one of our panel members is actually working in the field as we speak. But there are so many companies and different programs and different opportunities that support the efficiency and quality of care. And so really for you, it's about exploring, is healthcare the right opportunity for me, and giving you that exposure. The other area in healthcare, with it being, it's actually in the top 2 largest, as far as industries to be able to go join and have your career with. But the other big area that hasn't, this isn't because of COVID, this has been going on for many, many years, is how do we prepare for what's going to happen with our baby boomer population and retirement and more patient care. And so there's a lot of focus on operational efficiencies, how do we leverage technology to automate processes. And so there's a lot of different skill sets and talent that we're going to need. So it doesn't matter where your degree background is, whether it's clinical technology, if it's biomedical engineering, there's an opportunity in healthcare for you. And if you'll switch to the next slide for me. So as we start to think about what's been happening in healthcare and what will be happening in healthcare, there is over 71 million roughly baby boomers that will be retiring by 2031. And so what that means is those baby boomers are now entering their next phase of life and will also require more care. So that's going to put strain on the US healthcare system. It already has. We've seen additional impacts with COVID and volume, but those baby boomers are also leaving a gap because they are fulfilling so many of US healthcare jobs, about 16 million of jobs today. So they will be retiring over the next 10 years. That started over the last 5 years. But by 2031, we would have need to have scaled not only the amount to replace those individuals and the value that they bring in the experience, but also to prepare for the influx of patient care. And so this is why just getting educated on the healthcare industry and learning more and where you're at right now and the different opportunities is so important. The other area that is also creating a demand and will continue is that in the US, we have a lot of chronic conditions. So that could be diabetes, it could be heart disease. There's a lot of different, it could be obesity. There's a lot of disorders and chronic conditions that impact everybody's lives every day. And those require not only more care, and will continue to drive that need for care, but also more complex care across the spectrum of health. So I won't get too much in the weeds of that. You'll know pretty quickly I love healthcare, but the bottom line is there's a need. It's not going away, and it affects every part of healthcare, whether it is the custodial services, whether it's environmental services, cleaning beds in healthcare, whether you're supporting technology, whether you are on the front lines actually taking care of patients. It's across the board. And so healthcare needs all of you to consider it as a career path and career option. If you'll flip to the next slide for me. So I talked about, obviously this being just an area of focus. So there's just a few stats I want to call out here, that there's today over 93% of healthcare workers have earned a degree beyond your high school certificate. So associates or bachelors. And so that type of talent, all the work that you've been going through and you are going through on your own path, they're leveraging talent, looking for talent that has gone through that level of commitment and rigor and accomplished that, and creating opportunities for early career new professionals, entry-level talent to be able to join the healthcare industry. They're working on a lot of different employee engagement programs, being able to onboard at a new rapid pace to be able to support the growth and the replacement of talent needed. And so it's a significant opportunity. And then I won't spend a ton of time on clinical as it relates to if you Googled like healthcare workforce shortage in nursing as the top. But if you're in a nursing program today, we appreciate it. We encourage you to keep down that path, and we need you. But continue to look at these healthcare organizations and these growing demands, or if you're in between majors trying to figure out your major, hopefully you'll walk away with a few areas today where you're like, oh man, maybe I should consider clinical, or maybe I should consider, research, because there's just so many opportunities. So as we think about, there's about 16 to 17 million, depending on, the stats that are on current healthcare payroll today. And so that is where the job market is and where there will be opportunities as we continue to see healthcare evolve. If you want to flip to the next slide for me. Thank you. So let's talk about where some of the different business sectors are as you start to think about where are you in your journey and where you might potentially see yourself. There is the patient side of healthcare, and those will be your healthcare hospitals, it could be a post-acute skilled nursing facilities, it could be ambulatory physician practices. That's the patient side. And so those are what we call in our provider communities, opportunities that impact front lines on patient care. Then there's the healthcare technology sector. And so that could be, some of our largest technology companies like Epic or McKesson's Change Healthcare or Allscripts. There's a lot of different healthcare technology companies that have significant growth because they're focused on how do we optimize processes and solutions to help these healthcare organizations scale. And then there's the business side of healthcare beyond the business that's happening in the health systems, and that's your healthcare payers. Those would be like your Cignas, your United Healthcare, and so forth. And they are fundamental in ensuring that these health systems, hospitals, and beyond are getting reimbursed for the services so they can continue to provide patient care, all the way to pharmaceuticals. A lot of neat work that's happening in the pharmaceutical industry, especially as you start to look at different chemotherapies, immunotherapies, to really start to combat some of the things we're seeing in the US healthcare. So you'll start to see some of those areas continually. They're booming right now because there's a need. And I'll talk about those types of roles and examples of areas you should consider, but I'm talking through just a high level business sectors because there's a lot. And so as you start to talk and think about your career path, this gives you an opportunity of, ooh, that sounds interesting. Let me go research it, right? And that's what we want you to do. Medical device companies, we've seen a lot happening with COVID. We've seen a lot happening with testing kits, with COVID testing kits, quick test kits. A lot of that's happening even more. We're seeing an uptick in the medical device and bioscience areas. So a lot of different business sectors, but these are the primary business sectors that you'll find the most growth opportunities from a career perspective. And so we'll flip to the next slide. And if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and type them in the box and we'll take a pause here in a minute and see what we have.
Now, Amanda, I saw it in the chat box. There are several scholars majoring in public health. Could you say maybe a word on career paths for those with public health background or interest?
Yeah, absolutely. So just one comment on public health. There is so much happening with public health policies and regulatory changes in almost every healthcare organization and even on healthcare technology companies with regulatory changes. Anything in those sectors are going to have not only some type of initiative with public health, but also they're going to have policy and regulatory. So having talent that is coming in that can research, understand it, that can write content and shape some of the feedback. Like, for example, I've worked at some pretty large healthcare technology companies. I mean, we'll go to Congress. We'll present on behalf of people on public policy. And so getting ingrained in your community, your local government officials, there's lots of opportunities as it relates to healthcare. And so I'd like continue to go down those, but think beyond of just your local, look at your health systems, look at beyond your local government, look at also healthcare technology companies, medical device, anything that would have any type of regulatory component. There's opportunities to leverage what you're learning in school in your programs and be able to apply it, to future health. Were there any other questions? I'm just reading through the chat box.
I'm looking at it and it's mostly
More
lots of,
so,
go ahead.
more,
Melanie.
more so in the chat box, I'm seeing there's a lot of psych majors as well. I also threw out the question as to why our attendees were considering a career in healthcare, and a lot of great things from job security to it's their passion helping low income communities and being an example or not growing with that example of seeing someone that looks like them, that talks like them in that field. So lots of great answers as to why our attendees are considering a career in healthcare.
Absolutely, and I'm reading through some of them, and I just want to be able to reach across the video and meet everyone one day. But you're absolutely right. I mean, there's so many. When you get into healthcare, most people never leave healthcare once you've entered into healthcare because there are just so many opportunities to make a difference. We'll talk a little bit more about that. The other, you mentioned, Melanie, psychology majors. Our state is in flux from a mental health perspective. Some of the largest mental health organizations like UHS, Universal Health Services, Acadia, they're some of the largest behavioral health systems in the country, and they're nationwide, and there's opportunities everywhere for you to be able to take your psychology degree and be able to support some of the country's mental health needs. That's not going to go away. And so we need psychology majors to actually go down a route where they're interested in being able to help improve mental health in our country. And so I would encourage you, a lot of individuals, they're going to become a psychologist and maybe they want to own their own practice. But these organizations are scaling at a pace to support the needs. And so if you're not going down that path or thinking like individually own, they're great organizations to join and be a part of. And they are constantly hiring. So I'm glad if you have interest or questions on any of those organizations. And in any way, anybody's able to connect with me on LinkedIn. I know a lot of individuals in healthcare. I'm glad to get you connected when you're at that point. But that is just another area for you to continue to explore.
Amanda, would you mind sharing your LinkedIn profile or link in the chat box? So
I will. Yeah, absolutely. I'll pull it up.
So scholars could, sorry, go ahead, Amanda, do that. Scholars connections is really, really important for your career. So it's amazing that Amanda is willing to connect with you through a LinkedIn, and she is a talent expert in healthcare. So connect with her. Thank you, Amanda, for offering that to our scholars.
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the areas, I won't talk about every area because otherwise it might take about 2 days, but I pulled out just a few examples, within some of the business sectors. But one of those areas, just going back to the front lines and health systems and hospitals, because that is where that and post-acute organizations, skilled nursing, assisted living. But health system and hospitals, they absolutely are going to hit the workforce shortage. and they're going to have the most immediate needs of opportunities. These organizations have wonderful talent leaders that are building employee and onboarding programs, engagement programs, long-term succession planning. So as you start to go down that career exploration, looking at, okay, do they have a great culture? Are they focused on improving the community? What type of career path? Most of these health systems and hospitals are far more advanced than some of the other industries and organizations I've seen. Some of the types, if you have anything from a anything non-clinical, as it relates to, if you're not nursing, if you're a business site, wherever it may be, liberal arts, sociology, there's an opportunity in the business side of healthcare. Entry-level positions that are typically onboarded, with individuals with a college degree could be anywhere from being able to work in the business office and be able to learn how to help patients through that financial process, helping make sure that they qualify for the surgery and helping them through that process. That would be like a patient scheduler, insurance process, helping ensure the hospitals are getting paid, yet you're helping the patient through that process. Because if you've been through the insurance process, it's not very easy to understand what your benefits are and coverage. But there's a lot of career paths that come from the business side of care. You could go down a leadership path. You could go down an operational path. There's a lot of areas within a health system and a hospital to learn revenue cycle and the business side. And when we can keep our hospitals and health systems financially sound and operating, that allows us to continue great quality care to our patients, our communities, our friends and family members. The other areas are clinical. So if you're already down a clinical path, you probably have already set at least where you're going to initially start your career. And we know home health aides. We'll continue to see an influx of home health aides. The way we're delivering care, and we'll continue to change the care delivery model due to COVID. We need to be able to get further reach outside of the four walls of a hospital. LPNs, our nursing, our RNs, pharmacy techs. I mean, imagine a pharmacy right now, if you're down that path, the amount of influx and need in pharmacy to be able to deliver COVID vaccinations over the next several years, immunizations. There is a significant opportunity to support, and we need our pharmacy. We need our pharmacies as part of our integrated care delivery model. Physicians, that's not going away. Pharmacists, I mean, my nephew's a pharmacist, and he's one of the first ones to start working on COVID testing. And so there's so many opportunities that were there before COVID, but have even only increased and will continue to. Leadership paths for clinical. Nursing leaders, charge nurses, being able to look across caseload and make sure that you're coordinating the best possible care for complex, patient care. There's so much, even nursing in the business side of healthcare, coding, understanding, what actually happens and needs to happen to ensure you get paid based on not only the diagnosis of the patient, but did we follow the right treatment protocols to ensure they got the best care? So nursing is beyond the four walls of a patient's room. Nursing is involved in not only the business and clinical side of healthcare. So lots of opportunities for progression from a career perspective. And even my own aunt, who was frontlines nurse for many years, she moved to and worked at Cigna for a long, long time. So she shifted, as her needs and her desires changed, and she took on a leadership role on, the business side of healthcare. So lots of opportunities for vertical and horizontal movement in the health system and hospital market. And then another example, if you want to flip to the next slide for me, is in the technology sector. A lot of people think healthcare tech, I've got to have a technology degree or be an engineer or whatever it may be. I graduated, like I said, with the management degree, Bachelor of Science, and a minor in psychology. And I went to work at the largest healthcare technology company at the time, which was McKesson. And I am not technical. I don't do coding. My algorithms are very scary. But so a lot of people think, working at a technology company is that you have to have that skill set. No, you don't. Now, to develop software, you absolutely do, and there's requirements. But healthcare technology is about how do we deliver value? How do we optimize processes so our frontline healthcare and hospitals can deliver better care? And how do we do that? How do we help them through the implementation of that technology? So sales and marketing, we have to have teams out building relationships, being able to sell the value of the solutions. We have to have services teams to go out and implement. I led a implementation team of about 30 implementation consultants, and we lived in the healthcare system implementing software on the front end of hospitals, their access management registration software, helping them optimize that process, helping their staff through adopting the change. There's a lot of change management, project management involved, lots of future leadership paths across the board in sales and marketing and operational. And then same thing on the services and support. Some, you might be like, I don't want to travel, or I don't want to be in the healthcare system or be out on site. Our support and a lot of our services professionals now, especially with how we've adapted technology, even just with everything that's happened in the past year, a lot of that can be done remotely over the phone, taking care of their support needs, helping solve some of their greatest issues so they can keep providing the regular care that they provide. Lots of leadership paths, whether that's managers. And when I talk about leadership, I don't talk about it in a manager role, because that could be a manager role. You're a leader, doesn't matter what your title is, but you have the opportunity to go into be a SME, a subject matter expert or product. You can guide the way technology is being developed, use case scenarios, so many opportunities there. And we'll keep on going through beyond the healthcare tech. The next area is the healthcare insurance company, if you want to flip the slide for me. And that is, you probably have seen them everywhere. Cigna, United Healthcare, Kaiser, Aetna's. They need business professionals. They need psychology, mental health professional. They need all different backgrounds. They need technology background across the board. There's so many opportunities within a insurance provider organization. A lot of our insurance payers also have, they also support and provide pharmacy and clinics. Like, for example, Aetna owns CVS Minute Clinic, which you probably some point we've all been to, some type of clinic, urgent care clinic like that. But there's opportunities there. So it doesn't matter whether you're nursing or you're clinical or business, there's opportunities. And so you just have to go out there and explore where your interest lies and what excites you every day. And there's movement and opportunity for you to make that transition. If you want to move to the next slide for me. So I talked about a lot of areas in a very, very short time. But we want you to consider healthcare. It's in the second largest top 2 of industry opportunities. It's an opportunity for you to make a difference. And we know we're going to need, the workforce to help ensure that patients are taken care of. There's lots of career growth. And so as you start to think, and if you want to transition to the next slide, start to think about, well, where do I even start that process? Where do I begin? Because, hey, Amanda just came on and talked about all these different areas, and hey, that could be overwhelming, or that's a lot, or, I have no idea where to begin. So I can tell you just through my own personal experience, when I was at my first company that I worked with for almost a decade outside of healthcare, and I knew I wanted to make a shift in that direction, I actually did an internet search. And so I looked at help me find the top healthcare companies in Atlanta. And McKesson popped up. And so one of the first steps that I did is, well, who do I know at McKesson? Well, I hadn't worked in healthcare, so I didn't know anybody at McKesson. And that was even before LinkedIn, which most business professionals you'll find in the healthcare tech sector and clinical have some type of LinkedIn profile. But so I searched, okay, well, let me learn more about McKesson. And so I actually found opportunities on McKesson, and it ended up, after going through the interview process, being the right opportunity. So I would encourage you all to start the process now. If you know regionally, if you don't know what field yet, but I want to be in Atlanta, or I'm in LA or New York City, and I'm interested in what companies are actually here, go ahead and Google like top healthcare companies. Look at your Fortune 500s, your Fortune 100s, your best places to work. I use Google a lot, and you can find out those companies and what they're well known for. Look for organizations that have strong culture. They have team culture. You'll see that most of these organizations talk about that culture on their website. And so once you get that list of, oh, there's my Aetna here, or, oh, there's, Jackson Healthcare, whatever it may be, go to their website, actually go on and review their talent communities, and you're going to learn a ton about their organization. The next area I recommend is career fairs, not just the ones through your university and colleges, because those companies are signing up to be a part of that, which is fantastic. You should absolutely go, take advantage, learn about the companies, but you're not going to find a gazillion healthcare there. You're going to find a variation, which is great for career exploration. But what you can do is go online to these healthcare companies that you've Googled and researched, and actually go online. Most of them are doing some type of online, quarterly, regular, routine career fair. You can fill out your talent profile, your areas of interest. You can see student internships if that's where you're at in your phase. You can create a profile, and you should create a profile to get in their database. It takes about 2 minutes to do, and once you do it, you're in there. And then you can actually register for these career fairs. And right now, even with what's happened with COVID, they're doing them virtually, so you can meet and greet, learn more about their organization, their teams, their cultures. So make sure you participate, especially if you're in your junior year and senior, and you're at that point where you're trying to find a working paid internship, or you're looking for where you would like to start your career. Start that process as soon as possible. Like, it cannot be too early. The other, we partner with TheDream.Us. So if you're in your senior year, we want to be working with you now to be able to help career mentor and coach and prep you, and hopefully get you aligned with the right organization, which Pollyanne's going to talk more about that in a minute. So our goal is to help you through that career pathing journey in a real-time fashion, so it lines up when you finish your program. And then I said it earlier, career search early, and I'm going to say it again in a different way: research. Take your time, use your favorite search engine, research companies and industries now. I just found like best places to work, because those are based on actual employee surveys, or just great places to start. And you'll find a lot of different areas you just never even considered in healthcare. But make sure you research. You'll find all their information. Go to their website, fill out the talent profiles. It's a great place for you to further invest your time. And then last but not least, networking. Networking is extremely important. There's statistics on this, on how people land jobs, and it's usually through a networking. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, at some point you're going to want to create one that gives a background of kind of your professional summary of where you're at in your journey, and what you're looking for, what your degree major is. And you're going to want to start searching on LinkedIn organizations to follow. That allows you to see and be able to follow them on social media to see, because they're always posting career fairs, some of their university hire events and so forth. And then connecting with like, hey, like, hey, you're interested in working in patient access and helping patients get registered and scheduled and learning that side. Why not reach out to the patient access leaders at the health system and hospital and be honest? Just be like, hey, you know what? I'm working on this degree. I'm really excited about starting my career. Send them a quick note. I'd love to learn from you and get connected with you. And you're going to find most leaders are going to want to connect because they know that their goal is to invest in talent coming in, and they know we need all the talent to be able to support going forward. So I'd encourage you to make sure that you're networking proactively, and then talk to your campus counselors, your friends, their parents, colleagues. See, what companies they work with. It always amazes me like how many people I know are so interconnected with each other and can connect you like, hey, oh no, they work in that. And even if it's not landing towards like your job, it gives you an opportunity to explore different areas by having the conversations. And if you want to flip back forward, I think the slide went back, but I would encourage you to continue networking, and don't lose sight of that networking piece, because it is very, very important. And it really could help you land whatever your next opportunity is. And
Amanda, it's 42 minutes into the hour.
oh my goodness. All right. Well, we're going to move really fast. You can't get me started on healthcare. So if you don't have your DACA status, or you're still working on citizenship, or whatever that means, there is a place for you in healthcare. We get that question a lot on where to begin. And when we start to think about healthcare, we have over almost 3 million of our healthcare workers are immigrants that are working and supporting patient care. Most are working in some type of independent contractor status. There's a great organization, it's called Untitled, that walks you through some of the starting points and career paths if you're interested in going down that path and figuring out what do you need to do if you're in between your statuses to ensure that you can have a successful career in healthcare. And it's not just healthcare focused website, but I'd encourage you to go and do that research and do it now, because there's lots of opportunities as you're working through that process, and there's a place for you, and there's definitely a place in healthcare. When I think of 17% of the workforce is immigrants in healthcare, it's just a significant opportunity to make a difference. And we'll keep going. So I want to make sure we get to our panel discussion. I won't spend a ton of time here because we're going to share this out, but we've provided some examples of organizations to network if you're interested in learning more based on different areas. That most of them have student memberships, and they're like $50 maybe max. And so I would encourage you, whether you're nursing or physician or interested in healthcare tech, we'll share this out. Make sure you get this information. Go check them out, get involved with their organizations, get involved early. Another great way to network through these organizations. And then we can flip to the next slide.
Melanie, can I ask you also to go into the PowerPoint and grab these links and put them in the chat box for scholars so they can have them right now? Thanks.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So I covered a lot, and apparently not a short time. So we want to get to, because we have really, really great opportunity with two of our Dream.Us scholars on the line, Louis and Emerson, and I want to introduce you to them, but I'm actually going to have them join in. They're on video. And I would love to have you both just introduce yourself to our other scholars, kind of where you work and what type of role you're in, and this is just a great opportunity to get to know them. They're both working in healthcare already. And so I guess, Emerson, do you want to maybe kick us off?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Emerson Loaiza. I am from Colombia, the beautiful city of Medellin. I was born there and I moved to Boston, Massachusetts about 20 years ago. Currently, I am working in Dicerna Pharmaceuticals. And I have to echo a lot of what Amanda said. For you to end up working in healthcare, you actually don't need to go to school for any of those fields. So I went to Purdue University Global. I graduated with a bachelor's in business administration in 2019. I worked in the hospitality field for about 14 years. And then I just thought it was time for me to, do a transition and develop a career. So I started working in healthcare. So I work for Dicerna Pharmaceuticals. I have been there for about a year and a half. I work in the human resources department. Pretty much what I do now is everything that comes from onboarding, an employee's first day on the job, even 2 weeks prior, getting all of their paperwork ready, their first day, getting orientations ready, setting them up for success up until like probably a month after their first day, making sure they completed everything they needed, making sure that all of their benefits and operations are completed. And in case they have any questions about any benefits such as medical, dental, or vision insurance, or any type of medical account that you can use, such as HSAs, FSAs. I manage all of that up until the point when someone leaves the company, which is the offboarding, just making sure everything is put together for you to transition, whether that is into another field or into a different company. And just like Amanda said, my company is incredible. It's an awesome company, and we do everything. We have people working in human resources. We also have people working in finance. We have the administration team. We also have an awesome IT department. They help us with, from time to time, when people have difficulties with their computers and stuff like that. Now that we're all working from home, they're an awesome resource. We also have a communications department. A lot of people sometimes forget about that. So in case, anyone is going to school for that, we have that available as well. Manufacturing, legal teams, there's so much that you guys can do, but it's a great career.
Wonderful. Thank you, Emerson. And then we also have Louise on the line as well, and love to hear your background, Louise, and what school you graduated from and your degree.
Thank you, Amanda. Can you guys all hear me? I'm kind of in an awkward room at work.
All loud and clear. You're good.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I graduated from Arizona State University. That's in Tempe, Arizona, with a degree in biochemistry with an emphasis in medicinal chemistry. I am from Guadalajara, Mexico. I guess technically Colima, but nobody really knows where that state is. So I just say Guadalajara. It's bigger. But I've been here in the United States for like 25 years. I graduated high school here, did all my elementary school and everything here. And then I got DACA in 2012, and I graduated university in 2018. My background, I like to say, is more in an indirect way of healthcare. I was just showing my peers here on video chat before everyone else came in that I was doing these scannings. And like, this is a lung tumor that we're scanning for a patient. And essentially what I do is I do a diagnostic assay, which is basically a device that lets pharmaceuticals say, okay, this particular tumor can be easily treated with this pharmaceutical drug that targets a certain antibody that you're using. I know it's kind of like nerdy, but I love talking about this because I really enjoy what I do. So yeah, unlike maybe like physically being with the patient and talking to them and maybe being the person that diagnoses them, I'm the one that's like that your doctor uses our diagnostic system to say, okay, that is what medicine is going to help you the most for your cancer or for your Alzheimer's or for your Parkinson's disease. It's not necessarily cancers. But yeah, essentially, essentially it's just all indirect. And I really enjoy it that way. I think that I see how science really matters and how it affects patients' lives. And that's what I really care for. Yep. And then like Amanda and Tanya said, I do have to, again, repeat that networking is the key. I currently work for Roche Pharmaceuticals, which is one of the biggest companies in the world. And the person that got me this job was someone that I met through a person that I worked with. I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I know you work for Roche. Can you give me a tip? And he's like, I can do better than that. I can put you in contact with the person that will be hiring you. So it was really easy to come in and like transition from a startup company to a world renowned company. And that has always been my goal, even here. Like there's a rivalry between U of A and ASU here in Tucson, Arizona, and Phoenix, and I'm the ASU guy because everyone here is U of A. So even that's helped me network. Is having like my spirit of being a Sun Devil, or yeah, I think we're Sun Devils. I don't even know. I just like say it because people like pick up on that and pick up on being like that that I can be reached out and easygoing, and people like that. So that's my way of networking. And I've picked up so many, like LinkedIn is my favorite thing ever. Everyone should make their LinkedIn profile as soon as possible, honestly, and work on your resumes because that's going to get you any job that you want.
So fascinating work, Louis, and actually you answered a lot of the questions I was going to ask, which is amazing. But that's a perfect example, both examples between Emerson and you on ways that you can make an impact in healthcare. And there's so many different areas without being on the front lines with patients. Majority of the areas will not be on the front lines with the patient, direct patient care. And so just, what you walk through on just being able to look and test and see, cancers and, different disorders responsive to medicines. I mean, that's how we come up with cures. I mean, there's an impact there, but there's roles like that all across healthcare. So word of advice, maybe from Emerson, we'll flip back to you on, what do you recommend and what did you find like the most helpful with your own career search and journey in healthcare?
Yeah, so I will answer the rest of the questions now since the light is back on me. So I will say a couple of things that got me interested in healthcare. So there are two things that got me interested in healthcare. The first thing that got me interested in it was the people. So I worked in hospitality, like I mentioned before, for so many years. People have given to us, the dreamers, the Dream.Us, so much that I felt it was time for me to give back. So that was a big motivator for me to get into it, as well as the career growth and the services that we offer patients. There are so many people suffering out there that that was one of the biggest contributors for me to be like, you know what, maybe I can do something that is not directly affecting the patient, but something that I can along the way and in the long run make their lives a little bit better. I have to echo what Louis and Amanda said about networking. The one thing that everyone always forgets about networking is that networking can also happen with your friends. For example, when I started my career search, I actually got invited to a wedding. And the funny thing is that the bride turned out to be my boss. Because she knew that I was interested in growing, and she knew that I wanted to pursue bigger dreams. So when she noticed that I graduated from Purdue University, she reached out and she's like, hey, are you looking for a job? And I'm like, yes, I am. And I go, I got to talk to her and the opportunity came up. So don't be shy to share your ideas and your goals with those people that you might not even know, because you never know if that person's going to reach out to you and be like, hey, there's an opportunity here that you might be a good fit for. From there, some of the good things that are very meaningful to my job, like I said before, is helping out those patients and the ability to use my degree, because who would have thought that all of us, as part of the Dream.Us, we were going to be able to obtain a college degree in the US. That became a reality for many of us, and many of you guys are almost there. And guess what? These doors are going to be there for you. And just like I made it happen, you guys can also make it happen. And the advice that I have three things that I like to say. So when in doubt, just do it. I remember when I was in college and I was very frustrated. I'm like, oh my God, I have 3 days to finish a research paper. I have 3 days to study for an exam. Somehow we always manage to make it happen and we always get good grades. So when you're just doubting yourself, just go for it. Just give it a try. Anything that you touch, finish it. So that was my rule of thumb in school. So anything that I started, a school project, reading, anything that you touch, just get it done and get it off your plate, because then you can move on to a next task. And the faster you get the ball rolling, the faster you're gonna get there. And my last thing is trust your gut and learn when to say no.
I love your recommendations and feedback from both you, Emerson and Louise. I want to thank you both for joining on today. If you are comfortable and happy to share, we've gotten some requests on the LinkedIn to share your LinkedIn profile for connection. So if you feel good, submit it in the chat. But yeah, thank you both. And so we'll transition.
Can I add a?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just right now that he says the pieces are advice and they're great advice, Emerson. That's that's really nice that you did that. I think one of the main things that I wish like someone told me, but I wish they would have told me when I was like still a sophomore, junior in college, is yeah, just give it a shot, regardless of how like little experience you think you have for a position. Apply. It doesn't matter. The worst thing that could happen is no. And then one of the things that I tell, two things that I tell my coworkers is you dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So like that's one of the main things that I focus on is I always come dressed up, even though I'm a research associate too and not a scientist, but I still am probably one of the ones dressed up the most every single day. And then 3, it connects with the first one. It's gonna sound really dumb, or I'm gonna age myself from 2012, but I tell people to just YOLO it, like just do it. Kind of like how he was saying it, but I say it more like as a joke. If people get mad at me, it's like, oh, how can you YOLO it? You're supposed to design the experiment or whatever. But so you like if in my instance, like you design the experiment, but at the end of the day, you trust yourself and you trust your gut, and you say, this is going to work because I know what I'm thinking and I know what I'm doing. And that comes off in a really good positive manner to people is that your positivity and your attitude makes a huge difference in any kind of job.
Wonderful advice. And thank you. I love
Amanda,
it.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I know we have a couple minutes left and I want to be very respectful of everyone's time. But this question is so common and I'd like to make sure that our panelists can just answer it really quickly in like 30 seconds or less, if that's okay with you. Ashley Trejo Mejia asked, did you stop with school after your undergrad or did you keep going? So if any of the panelists would just like to get 30 seconds or less in terms of whether or not they should continue with their studies.
Sure, I'll be happy to answer. So I actually did not stop. So I'm actually getting my MBA in Human Resources Management from Fitchburg State University here in Massachusetts. It's been a little bit of a challenge, of course, because, you know, like my undergrad, we had the opportunity and help from TheDream.Us. But one other thing about healthcare is that they're there to help you grow. And that's the greatest thing about my company. They do offer tuition reimbursement, and that is something that I'm taking advantage of. A lot of companies out there have programs like this. So just do your research and take advantage of that. And then little by little, you can also continue your studies.
Yeah, and I have not continued my studies. That just mainly, I'm saving up for like, my first goal was to buy a house. So I'm saving up for the house. So I just thought, okay, I think the experience, in my case, experience in being a research associate or in pharmaceutical companies, experience can probably get you further than necessarily a degree. So that was my thought process of it. But I do want to go back, and when and if I can afford it, I will go back to get a master's or a PhD.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, maybe as we wrap up, Pollyanna, if you want to close this out just on next steps on pathways, and we're so glad everyone has joined us today, and I'll turn it over to you, Pollyanna, as we close out tonight's
Yes. Yes. So no, I'm definitely appreciative of everyone's time today. So I'll keep it very high level information, and I'll also link my LinkedIn for connections as well. And I'll even I'll try to see if I can pull up the website for the sign-in page, or I believe the Dream also can provide that information as far as directly signing up for our Avenica pathways. But because of our partnership with the Dream, you actually start in the first assessment and coaching session phase, where we're really just getting to know you, really doing a skills inventory and reviewing your strengths, potential areas of opportunity that you feel, whether it's something like a resume revamp, or as we discussed tonight, that importance of networking and getting your feet wet out there. We also assist with that as well, right? Doing the social media checks and all of those great things. There is an optional assessment that you may choose to take that actually measures over 100 essential career skills for you. You actually receive a copy of your drivers and your career skills after that first coaching session. And once we kind of talk through some of those things too, so you also have that as a resource. But I really wanted to emphasize that since we're placing for our client companies nationwide year-round, as we continue our coaching sessions and periodic check-ins with the candidates that we're engaging through this program, if we are working on an active position that aligns with your career goals, and our talent delivery specialist, you'll be actually partnered with someone, and they'll go ahead and be in touch to coordinate next step interviews directly with the employer. Now, a really great thing that I like Amanda mentioned throughout the conversation is that we genuinely strive to look beyond that direct work experience in the field and really focus more on getting to know our candidates one-on-one. So it's definitely one of those things, whether or not, again, you have a healthcare administration degree, or maybe you just have a business admin or a psych degree, right? What are other ways that we can actually get you in and get that foot in the door for you as well? We're here to assist with that. So I always like to say, whether you find a position on your own or through us, I want it to be the best long-term fit for you. So that's really what that main focus is for us as we're going through the process together. So, but yeah, so I can share, I'll also share my LinkedIn too, so that please feel free to directly reach out to me. I would love to engage. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Pollyanna. I know we are 3 minutes over. If there's any final questions and you want to put them out there, we're glad to stay on for a few minutes and answer those. But we're really excited to have the opportunity to come share a little bit more about healthcare, the industry, and certainly our partnership with TheDream.Us as well.
Yes.
So I have one question. So I'm currently a double major in social work and finance. I was wondering, would my, I guess, concentration really be a good fit for what you guys are currently doing? I know you guys are not really pressed about the I guess the experience in terms of like what degree we have or the lack of. But if I'm really trying to stay focused into those 2 degrees, what you guys are doing, would that fit into, I guess, my pathway?
So great question. I heard that finance is one area. What was the other one?
It was social work.
Oh, social work. So absolutely. I think for you, it's just understanding where, where that right area is. From a finance perspective, anywhere in healthcare, there's a business side of healthcare. And so there's directors of finance, directors of revenue cycle, opportunities, learning how the billing and financial process works behind the scenes. There's lots of opportunities on the business side of healthcare. And then, looking beyond is, from a social worker aspect, there's a whole nother different path of healthcare. And so we partner with client partners all across different healthcare. For us, it's really understanding where you're most passionate about, where our candidates are most passionate, and helping you discover what's the right type of organization, for you to join in that career path. But you have a unique, and I would say pretty special degree focus that allows you a wide variety of career paths. And so I'm not sure where you are at in that process, but if you're in that late junior, senior, from finishing your program, I would encourage you to reach out to us, and we'd love to be able to speak with you and help you through that career journey process.
Thank you. And I'm actually graduating this semester. So yeah, I would definitely reach out.
Yeah,
Awesome.
congratulations. So close you are. So close. Yes, definitely reach out to us. I know Pollyann put her LinkedIn. You'll have all of our contact information. But we'd love to learn more, from you and anybody else who's interested. Our goal is to support you in that journey from a career path perspective. Any other final questions? Thank you.
Amanda, I have two questions in the chat really quickly. One is from Dulce Valenzuela. She said, "Good evening, everyone. Thank you for your time. I have a question. I currently work at my hospital as a safety attendant. I love working with my patients. I'm going to school for biomedical engineering. There's always opportunity for internship at my school and for awesome jobs, but I'm not qualified because I don't have that kind of schooling under my belt. Should I stress over those opportunities now, or should I wait and keep doing what I'm doing?"
So if those opportunities exist at where you're at now, I would encourage you to network with the hiring leaders and have not only a conversation with your current leadership, but also with the hiring, just to learn more about what they're looking for, because now could be the time that you could be preparing. And some of these organizations, and they might absolutely have a hard set, you have to have this degree. But there could be some other entry level early career positions that would put you on a path. And it's not uncommon for a lot of these positions that they are hiring at a junior level, and while individuals are finishing their actual degree. So you don't know unless you ask and have the conversation. So I would encourage you to not overlook the opportunities, but have the conversation, and then you'll have a better, clear path on where those opportunities might be. And then if they're not at your current company or hospital, look at other companies for working internships that are also supporting that type of field that you're interested in. And you might find that's a nice natural progression to make that transition to a working paid internship into a full-time position at another company. So great question.
Amazing. Thank you. We do have another question really quickly. This is a pretty common one from M. Cameron. They're asking, would you recommend going to hospital websites or directly for employment opportunities? So the question is whether hospital websites or go in person directly for employment opportunities.
So I would start on building a talent profile on their website. I think if you go directly, you should do it through a LinkedIn type social media where you're going to the hiring managers to introduce yourself and get connected. If you go to the front office of a hospital, they might give you a form to fill out that they will send you out of the hospital or healthcare system. And with technology companies and other companies, a lot of them are not operating in person right now, so it'll be a little bit more challenging. LinkedIn is beyond their talent profile and submitting online. Reaching out through LinkedIn is a great next path forward, but make sure you've done that talent profile and applied for positions that I would recommend are within 5 years of your experience level or less. You don't want to apply for positions that are 15 or say 20, but you also don't want to limit yourself because a lot of what I have seen in the healthcare industry is they say 5 years, but they will gladly take 1 year of customer service experience, or even just working in the retail industry from a customer service perspective, or waiting tables. I mean, any of that where you're working with people from a hospitality perspective and taking care of customers, that's experience, and don't undervalue any of your experience in those areas. So I would, when you're applying, look for positions that, even if they say 5, which is like the standard rule of thumb, put your name in the hat for it. And, you know, you'll find that you'll open up your own door for more opportunities. So great question.
Great. And we just have
Amanda?
one. Oh, go for it, Liz.
Well, I was just gonna say something that I found out recently, because a friend of mine was trying to apply, and apparently a lot of companies are now being able to link your LinkedIn to their jobs and do a search. So you only get the jobs that you would be most qualified for. So that's also something that's a good tool to use, like within individual companies' websites for their career section. Just keep that in mind because it's helpful.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Luis. This next question can be applied or can be answered by anyone. Really, it's from Emily Martinez. She is asking, what is a book that has impacted your career personally?
Oh. Well, I've had a few, but I can start out with one of the basic ones, and that's The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. If you haven't read it, do. And I use it all the time, not only professionally, but even in my kids everywhere, but just on how to interact with people and make really good sound judgment, and not to make a judgment too fast. So there's that in most Barnes and Nobles, little bookstore. You can find like the online quick version or a little mini version of it. There's also a series on situational leadership too that is fascinating. Good to Great, which I might have it in here. But that's one that talks a lot about business transformation and growth of some of our greatest countries. So some of those have been really impactful. I will tell you that now I've shifted away from books beyond, and I do a lot of reading on, believe it or not, we talked a lot about LinkedIn. A lot of the articles that are posted and people sharing are real life scenarios and how they're solving, and they're providing a lot of recommendations, and I love a lot of that. And if anybody wants to message me offline on sales, I've got probably a laundry list of about 10 go-to sales books that are fantastic about how to interact with people. And I'm definitely, other participants want to share something that they have found from a book perspective useful. We'd love to hear from you.
I mean, it's not really one of those books like that you read for goal oriented or something like that. It is a memoir. It's called Death Be Not Proud. It's written by a father of a dying son of cancer, and like just like his perspective about life and how positive the child was, even though he knew he was about to die, and like that whole thing is like a whole different mindset that I feel like people should have more often. Is do as much as you can, but also like know that your actions affect other people. And it's it's just an incredible book. I really liked it. I've read it multiple times. I think the first time I read it I was like 13, and I've read it like 5-6 times since then, and it always makes always makes more sense or a different impact every time I read it. So
wonderful. All right, any other questions that we saw, Melanie?
Melanie had to step up for a second. Here's Tanya again. I think we are good. Several scholars have been asking us if we're going to be posting this. Yes, we're going to post a recording in the PowerPoint in our Scholar Hub under the Career Connections page. So it will be done probably on Monday or Tuesday of next week. So go check it out sometime next week. And with that, I think I'm going to close it in because it's already 15 minutes past the hour. Scholars, congratulations on really starting to think about your careers now before you graduate. The earlier you start thinking about this during your college years, the more you will have the time to do all the steps that you need to take. We emailed you, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, an email with a career guide, which outlines steps that we are recommending that all of you take your freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years. So if you didn't see that, go to your inboxes or spam folder and look for our email from Career Connection or our Career Connections program. And thank you, Pauline. Thank you, Amanda, Emerson, and Luis for joining us. Your words of advice and wisdom are really valuable to our scholars. Thank you for your willingness to share your LinkedIn profiles, and scholars connect and build relationships with these individuals because they can help you in your future. So with that, have a good night, everybody.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.